Hey, I'm Nico, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna compare the wide-angle options for the Hasselblad 500 series cameras, the 50mm and the 40mm. Let's do it. So if you're a bowler, you probably already own a Hasselblad SWC, the super wide camera. This camera has a fixed 38mm biogun, which is an amazing wide-angle lens. Therefore, you don't need either of those. You can just stop this video right now. But the rest of us mere mortals, we might still want a wide-angle lens to put on our 500 series cameras. Enter the 50mm and the 40mm. My particular lenses are CF FLE series lenses, meaning they have an adjustable floating element in the front, supposed to give us better corner image quality. So we're going to go in the field today with both those really heavy lenses, and we're going to take a bunch of pictures and then compare the results on film. But before we do that, let's have a word about ergonomics and building a comprehensive system. This lens, the 50mm, features the same B60 bayonet size as the 80mm, the 60mm, the 100mm, the 150 and the 180, and the macro 120. Meaning if you buy an accessory like a Hasselblad Compendium, it will fit on a lot of your lenses. Pretty much any other Hasselblad lens that you could buy in the CF series will use the same compendium, will use the same UV filters. And if you use an adapter to a threaded filter ring, like this 72mm threaded filter ring, then you can use the same 72mm filters on all your lenses. The 40mm is nowhere near as practical. All you have is an 86mm threaded ring, so all you can use is 86mm accessories and filters, and they won't be compatible with any other of your lens unless you own a really big telly. I think the Hasselblad 500mm uses that filter thread, and some Sigma 200 to 600. But very likely that if you invest in color contrast filters or ND filters or polarizing filters for this lens, it will be a one-time investment that only serves for one lens. So now that this caveat is out of the way, if you're still interested in the 40mm and you think you can live with those limitations, let's have a look at how they behave on the field. The light conditions right now are ideal with like big dramatic clouds and the sunshine bursting through, so I'm gonna get into it right away and shoot as fast as I can, and we'll talk more later. So here is how to use these lenses. First, you set up the floating element to the distance you estimate is right. The distances are pretty wide, so it's easy to guess. Right now we are obviously between 4 meters and infinity, so that's the setting I choose first. And then you can fine-tune your focus. So here is the picture at 40mm. It's a FP4 Plus 125 ISO film. Here is a 100% view on the point of focus, which was those speakers on the pole. And here is the center of the frame. You can see that it's pretty sharp with lots of fine detail resolved. Same perspective, but with the 50mm, you can see it's a bit more narrow. And again, let's have a look at the zone of focus. The speakers are tack sharp. And in the middle of the frame, again, very high resolving power from that lens. And now let's compare both lenses so you have an idea of the respective field of view. 40mm is on the left and 50mm is on the right, obviously. Okay, so the light is definitely gone for now, but I found a nice, very geometrical composition. So what I'm gonna try now is to get everything in focus. So I focused here on this line, and with an aperture of f11.5, I'm hoping to get everything in focus all the way to that church in the distance. This is a 1/4 of a second exposure, so I'm gonna lock the mirror, wait 2 seconds for the camera to stabilize. And here's the 40mm image. I skipped the center of the frame because it is very sharp.
And let's go straight to the edge of the frame. You can see that the church is well defined, but it goes a bit blurry if you look at the trees all the way to the edge of the image.
Okay, same composition with the 50. This time I've had to close down to f16 because the sun has slightly come out of the clouds. I'm still at the same quarter of a second exposure. Mirror locked. Wait a couple of seconds for the camera to stabilize.
On the 50mm image, looking at the edge of the frames, you can see that the church has retained a lot of detail. I would say the 50mm probably does a bit better than the 40mm in the corners, which makes sense because it's not such an extremely wide design. And now, just to have a look at the different field of views, you can see that the 40 is quite a bit wider than the 50mm.
Here in this next spot, I'm gonna test for corner sharpness. I have to trust that whoever took that picture got the teeth in focus, so we can check on the final scan if they are sharp. So I'm gonna be shooting this one at f5.6 and a half, which is really, I would never shoot something in the corners any more open than that, so that's the test. Mirror is locked.
So here are the full frames. The 40mm is on the left and the 50mm is on the right. And here's the 100% view. These scans are 5000 by 5000 pixels, roughly 2400 dpi. So you could scan even bigger if you had a 3200 dpi. Lots of details here.
So before we pack up and go back to town, I hired Louis to be my model to try these lenses in a portrait situation. So I shot both lenses at minimum focusing distance, and I'm going to show you what it looks like.
Actually, the image on the right, the 50mm, is at minimum focusing distance for that lens, and I just matched the same framing with the 40mm. If I remember right, the 40mm could have gone a little bit closer, but they produce roughly the same image as minimum focusing distance.
Okay, and now to finish the roll, we're going to look at the out of focus quality, the bokeh. So I'm focusing at 90 centimeters, 85 maybe, and we're gonna see if the 50mm and the 40mm can throw this very complex background nicely out of focus for us.
So both lenses were at f4.5, so really close to wide open, and you can see that the 50 does a bit of a better job at blurring out the background, which is to be expected since it's a longer focal length.
So as you can see, both lenses are very solid performers, easily as good or better as anything I've tried from Pentax, Mamiya or Contax. It's you couldn't really tell that one of them is better than the other. There's the focal length difference that's pretty huge. This lens is a 20% shorter focal length, so it gives a much wider field of view. This lens is almost like a wide standard. It's 50mm is not that far from 80mm. So which one do you get? If you're after something more of a walk-around lens, you are not fully committed to shooting landscapes or architecture that much. You just want something wide that works indoors, that works for the occasional architecture of landscape, but also works for documentary and people and stage photographs. I would recommend the 50. It's a great all-around lens. I would even argue that if you have a 50 and a 120 CF lenses, you have a fantastic two lens kit and you don't need a third one. On the other hand, if you are shooting 90% landscape or architecture, if you do any of that stuff professionally, or if you shoot a lot of indoors, you like to show big spaces or you like to make small spaces look bigger, you can go for the 40 with your in a heartbeat. The 86mm thread will still work with something like a Lee filter system or a Kokin Z or Nisi or any other brand that makes 100mm square filters, and you can go and shoot landscapes all day and never regret your choice. So that was it. Hurry up to eBay and buy all the CF FLE lenses you can find so my investment grows. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon about some other Hasselblad lenses. It's going to be exciting. Cheers.